why I left the United States when I was 21 years old. I live in South America. I'm now 26 years old, so that was like 5 years ago now. I've been married to my wife that I met down here for 4 years now. So some people think if you leave the United States, it's because you don't like the United States or you have some political problems and you don't like the current president or something like that, but that is just not the case. Most people leave the States because they want to experience something new, and that's especially my case. I guess at a young age, I had heard stories about people going to other countries, and that always sounded so cool to me, and even watching TV shows like Anthony Bourdain, how he would travel to other countries and try their food and how the people were so nice. I just saw that and it's like, wow, the world is such a crazy big place. And I remember, being younger and kind of the thought of another country always came across as a bad place. Always came across as like somewhere that people suffer and they eat dirt. I don't know why. That's just how I was taught when I was younger, or how the people spoke about other countries. They called every country a third world country. Doesn't matter if it's a Latin country, a Russian country, a European country. It was like every world is a third world country is what they call it. So, but that just looked different because when I saw these countries on TV, the people always had smiles on their faces. So I was like, something's not adding up. Why are the people happy over there? Then I had been on a couple cruises before, Carnival cruise, and I'd talk to the locals in Mexico or Honduras, and they were always happy, and they looked like they were living normal lives. Nobody was begging for money, besides the vendors trying to sell you stuff. But I just thought, man, there's something else to this world besides living in the same hoopty-doopty town that my parents grew up in, right? And no offense to them, I just don't want to live in the same town my whole life. Better yet, the same country. Especially after watching The Truman Show, because the movie The Truman Show was about this guy who lives in this world where everything is crafted around him, everything is kind of fake. And he wants to go out and explore the world, and every time he tries to get on the water, they always tell him, like, you can't go on the water. There's bad storms. Your dad died out there on the waters. Or something like that. That's how The Truman Show works. So he was trapped in this little small town, and everybody around him was part of this, like, manipulation. They would all tell him, like, this is where you have to stay your whole life. This is your life. This is you. I started thinking, what if it's like that with me? What if that's how the United States is like? Like, everyone's like, this is the United States. It's the best place ever. You have to stay here. Don't travel. Don't go around the world. Everyone else has a horrible lives. And I started to think, I'm pretty sure that's how this is working right now. And well, I took my first trip at South America at age 19. Went to go visit Bolivia. And I was there for a couple months, and I just met the locals. And I didn't meet no tourist. I didn't go to a touristy town. I just met average individuals, people who work as mechanics, electricians, plumbers, and I got to see how they live their lives. Paid off houses, spend time with their family on the weekends. Some of them only work 3 days a week. I even met the lowly people, like people with the lowest income jobs possible, and yet they still made ends meet. Still even had a paid off house, some of them, just by doing simple stuff like selling little fruit cups in the street in a little cart. Yet they still had enough time to go on vacations. They still had enough time to go play volleyball at nighttime and do all these things that even my friends in the United States can't do, who have beautiful Mercedes cars and big houses. They still don't have enough time. At least that's the way I felt. I felt like they never have enough time for anything because they're always busy. And they have a lot of debts. So I started to see the world a lot differently when I started to look at things from a different perspective. And I would have never saw that in the United States because I was like in the Truman Show. I was trapped in this little system that's being manipulated by what you see on the internet. So I told myself, you know what, man, I could see myself living over here because this could be like a really cool life, just living in another country. And I guess the ultimate reason why I decided to move out was I don't want to die not being able to see the world and all the stuff that's around the world. And the thought that I'm going to be eating a chicken sandwich from McDonald's my whole life, drink some Folgers coffee, wake up and only shop at the Dollar General, and just live such a mundane life every day till I die, that's terrifying. That's the most risky life you can live. Like, that's actually walking on a tightrope for me. And the way that my brain works, that sounds horrible. That sounds like a nightmare. To a lot of people, they like that. They like routine. They like everything being the same every day. They like eating the exact same food every morning. They don't like eating food from other cultures. They don't like anything new, anything that's off the railroad track of how their life is. You know, they don't like that. But for me, it's just the opposite. I feel more alive. I feel more blood pumping in my body when I'm out experiencing stuff. And what better way to experience something than to actually live in another country? Because if you just visit, you're just scraping the surface. You really don't get to know what it's like to be a local, to live like they live, you know, because you're just visiting. You come to another country with a couple $1,000, you eat whatever you want, and then you don't really get to meet very many people. You might meet a couple like waiters at the coffee shop or something like that, but you don't really get to live in the other country, meet your neighbors and live that type of life, you know. And another reason I would say too, I don't want to put too much focus on finance, because if everyone leaves the United States just for finance, I don't know, that could cause some problems. But I would say, yeah, for sure, I was kind of not liking that everyone around me in the United States had to work very, very, very hard just for basic necessities. And the only way I could see myself happy in the United States really would be like if I live in like a camper, a little camper trailer. Maybe I could buy like a camper for like a couple $1,000 and then go live on a cheap lot where it allows me to only work 3 days a week and actually live my life. You know, but the problem with that is but even if you find a way to escape the rat race of the United States, the sad thing is all your friends and family and your neighbors will still be in that system of like working 10 days a week and stressing to pay off their car payments and trying to get in more and more in debt. So that was kind of my problem. Even though it is possible to live a very chill life in the States and be financially free, like if you look at the numbers, like the average American doesn't even have $1,000 in their bank account because they're so deep in debt. And for me, when I was in the States, like I would ask my friends, hey, do you want to go fishing this Saturday? They couldn't even go fishing with me on a Saturday because they have to work overtime. And I find that it's a lot different over here. Here, the people, because of the way that they work and the way that they choose to live their life, they're not so pressured by society to get these massive debts and to pay off houses that take 30 years to pay off. So even here, I've asked my friends who work in construction, who work normal, sorry, my camera just cut off, who work normal jobs, like, hey guys, do you want to go camping this Tuesday? And they'll all take off work because they all work for their like little local family companies that are owned by their uncle. And it's just, none of them have debts here. I mean, yeah, there's a couple people with debts, obviously, right? So speaking of financial, I didn't move here because things are cheaper. But I do like the fact that the people here and the culture is not so focused on trying to keep up with the Jones. If you know what keep up with the Jones means, it basically means remodel your house every year, get the newest car every year, get a bigger house every year. You're keeping up with this weird system of marketing, which does not exist in other countries. Out here, people buy a small house and then they have their house. That's it. That's what I like. I like that because now all my friends here, they all have their houses paid off and they're in their 30s and 40s and 20s, and now they just work for food. Obviously, there's people out here who work all day long and want to have 10 houses, but my point is the culture of the work culture is a lot different out here. So it's very comfortable and it's a lot more relaxed. I don't feel pressure in my head to fit in with society because society here doesn't pressure you to have certain things. Now, it is cool that my dollars go farther here. But like I said, even my friends here who work in construction or they sell banana bread pudding in the street, they still have better lives than a lot of my friends in the States. So if I ever had to do that, I know based off of what my friends, the type of life they have, like I would definitely do that. I've worked in construction here. I've made 10 bucks a day. I've made 20 bucks a day doing stuff out here, and it's actually decent money compared to the cost of living here. It's just like the States. You make X amount, but the cost of living is X amount. So obviously I'd rather just use my English skill to teach English or to work online or whatever. But the cool thing is I don't have to work 6 days a week here. Obviously I could start working 7 days a week online and make lots of money and start buying lots of land and accumulating crap over here. But I'd rather just work 2-3 days a week teaching English or doing TikTok or whatever I want to do, selling mentorship or anything, being a math tutor or whatever, and then just live the rest of my life versus work 7 days a week and accumulate stuff. So I have found that being in another country lets you experience life from a new point of view. It lets you, is that somebody walking? Is that a dog? What is that? It's a dog. Or a goat, I don't know what that is. It's kind of tall. It's a big white dog. But have a little bit more free time to spend with your family. Like I have, my second son is about to be born. But the most important thing is just to live a different life in a new country. That's the coolest thing ever. When I post videos on TikTok, people always say weird stuff like, oh, maybe I'm running from the government. Maybe it's because I don't like taxes. Maybe it's because I'm running from the police. All this stuff. Maybe it's because of the political... Dude, that's just bogus trogus. Maybe it's because I couldn't make it in the United States and I was poor. There's no better reason to move to another country than the simple fact to live in another country. That's the cool part. You're living in another country. There's no more... You can't get much better than that. That's just the cool part. Driving motorcycles, going to the fruit markets, going to just do stuff, you know, out here, like just to see different stuff that you would never see in the United States. That's why I left the United States, was I didn't want to live the cookie cutter lifestyle that my friends and family were living. I wanted something new, and I found that over here. Now I've been here for 5 years, and I don't know where I'm going to go next, because even if I stay here my whole life, I'm still going against my belief of going to another country. So I might go to India next. You just have to find out.